Thank you very much, Dirk. Always a great pleasure to meet you and to meet the Insto family, if you allow me to say it in that way. So thank you very much to you, to UNWTO and colleagues from Mallorca and all the other colleagues from Insto. I make my presentation, short presentation, also in the name of Anna Scuttari, Felix Windecker, and Greta Erspamer, all of them also part of the Observatory in South Tyrol in Italy. And allow me to introduce also IDM. Thomas Trimpacher and Thomas Phil, both of them are today with us. IDM is basically the regional DMO of South Tyrol, Südtirol, Alto Adige. And together we are working on this logic to become more sustainable in South Tyrol with a special focus on tourism. What we can see is the changing role of the destination management organizations, and probably there is more and more a new understanding of a DMO. I would even say in a very provocative way that once a day we shouldn't talk anymore about a DMO, but probably more about an SMO, a sustainability management organization, or a sustainability governance organization. So the DMO is probably focusing too much on tourism, not so much interrelated with other sectors and with other cultures in the territory. And this is probably also one of the bigger mistakes we did in the past. So just introducing with a background, the context obviously of the regional DMOs and the local DMOs is rapidly changing, no doubt. The global developments, the pandemic situation, climate change, demographic shifts, but then definitely also the digitalization, the technological developments present serious challenges for destinations. And well, as UNWTO, Dirk Gresser always stated, there is definitely an implementation gap when it comes to sustainability in tourism. And so as one of the central questions in South Tyrol is the one about the increasing need for a sustainability transformation, and in what way this need for a sustainability transformation affects the role of the DMO. Just 3 slides about IDM. I'm not representing IDM, but this was agreed with Thomas Trimpacher and Thomas Phil. As I mentioned before, both of them are with us today. IDM is the regional DMO, but it's more than a DMO. It's a local space management organization with the definition of an umbrella brand, Südtirol, Alto Adige, South Tyrol, increasing the innovation and competitiveness of South Tyrolean companies, not only in tourism, but also in other sectors such as agriculture and art craft. And so the marketing of South Tyrolean quality products is basically, it's not only a marketing of the agricultural sector, but it's much more. It's the development of a brand which is reflecting the idea of an interesting, of a highly attractive local space, attractive for people visiting us, coming from all over the world. Just recently, IDM started a sustainability process, and based on the criteria of the GSTC and with input from various stakeholders, SDG-based criteria and indicators were defined that allow for measurement of the sustainability of tourism in South Tyrol. I will definitely not go into detail. You have a lot of experts in the group, and we did it also in other occasions, and we will, I guess, have other occasions to discuss in a more detailed way. That's what we are doing now. At the moment, well, in South Tyrol, IDM responsibles are starting with the so-called sustainability index, so making sustainability measurable in the tourism sector. They start to, in a systematic way, to steer the sustainable development process and procedures, with focusing on so-called main project or main product areas, focus areas, and last but not least, give the support to South Tyrolean destinations towards a more sustainable tourism. Moving to our observatory, now since a couple of years, we are sitting in the most northern province of Italy, in the Alps. We are a bilingual or even trilingual region, close to borderlines to Switzerland and Austria. And so from that point of view, also an attractive tourist destination for different markets. As I mentioned before, in the center, I would even say in the heart, if you allow me to say, of the Alps, and with the wonderful Dolomites as one important product basis. Definitely, we became a highly intensive tourist destination in the last decades. Have a look on the arrivals and overnight stays, more than 33 million overnight stays in a very, very small region. So the region is only 7,400 square kilometers big, or allow me to say small. So the density, how can people living there and tourists visiting us live in this small region where only 8% of the surface is a surface where we can live all the year long, because all the other surface is part of mountains. You can climb the mountains, but you cannot live in that mountain. So in other words, the pressure on the space is really high, and therefore sustainability has a very, very specific sound when it comes to the discussion with on a political level and on an entrepreneurial level. Therefore, IDM and EURAC Research, we are a research institute. We developed together the INSTO project, and today we are the most important partners, I would say, in the development of the sustainability policy in South Tyrol. We as researchers are supporting IDM. We as researchers are supporting the political and marketing-based development process in that regard. And in other words, this is just a slide, or let me say a flip chart, which is currently seeing or showing let me say the municipalities on one hand, and the amount of tourism associations, as we call them, DMOs, in other words, spread all over the small province of Alto Adige, South Tyrol. We have 72 tourism associations or DMOs, and we have 116 municipalities in South Tyrol. But someone has to manage them. Someone has to give them a guidance. Someone has to show them a leadership. IDM is doing that job, and we are supporting the sustainability policy based on that. So what is the problem? We have a limited understanding of tourism because, allow me to say that, even if we are a highly ranked tourist destination, but still tourism is understood as a, let me say, as an economic sector and nothing else. This is what also Dirk Gesser was telling us today, before. It is not enough to have a look only at the economic elements of tourism. Second, tourism is conceived as separated from other sectors of society. Absolutely not let me say, a good way to develop a future-oriented tourism. And sustainability is still considered an add-on to the DMO's core activities and objectives. And so very often stakeholders at the local level want to take the easy way. For example, have the certifications related to sustainability and nothing else. But sustainability, you all know it, is more than just a certification. It's more than just an accreditation process. Sustainability is part of the cultural development of the tourist destination. And so there is a question how to bridge this implementation gap. Well, first of all, we think fundamental assumptions. What does growth mean? How do we define success? So we have to go back to the basic questions, we have to start with the basic questions. Then it is important to focus on interdisciplinary, cross-sectoral nature of tourism, reflected with, let me say, with dialogue and with evidence-based decision-making culture development. Just to explain all those stakeholders that it is important to have data, to collect data, and to analyze data just in order to have a good basis for strategic decisions. Consider sustainability, in other words, as an umbrella. So if we consider sustainability as an umbrella, then again, I would say in a provocative way, let us talk about sustainable management organizations. More and more in South Tyrol, we could start to do that because DMOs now are receiving and feeling a lot of pressure when it comes to the development of specific strategies related to sustainability on a local level. And so go beyond narrow focus on guest experience towards the quality of life of all people involved, especially people living in that regions. Let me say it in another way. We now face a lot of crisis. We know about the vulnerabilities of tourism. We have a lot of imbalances, and sustainability policy should bring back the balance on different levels. First of all, between residents and guests, between politics and economy, between tourism and non-tourism, but also between private and public. So balancing these relationships means define a specific sustainability policy for the new DMO, which eventually could become the Sustainability Management Organization. And this brings us to the recovery governance issues, focusing on resilience, transformation, and sustainability. And sustainability, I think, is the topic of today. Coming to an end, the DMOs are becoming agencies of sustainability governance. And well, we are fostering cross-sectoral cooperations in so-called entrepreneurial ecosystem. The digitalization is helping us quite a lot. Developing platforms for joint projects at the intersection of art, culture, and tourism. This should help to create a tourism culture which is going beyond the economic focus. Strengthen the cooperation between tourism actors and the environmental protection groups. We think this is quite important. They are not enemies, but they are friends of tourism and especially friends of sustainable development of tourism. Promote family-friendly work time models and working conditions in tourism industry. This is a so important pillar for the let me say, social sustainability policy in our region. And last but not least, consider socially and environmentally responsible tourism development in the regional and spatial planning. So the regional and let me say the spatial planning process is an important pillar for the definition of the regional tourism policy. Okay, so all in all, I guess, and we guess that the DMO will have a central role also in the near future, bridging, interconnecting, and interfacing all the stakeholder networks of the region and creating a culture of sustainability. And it's not anymore about tourism. It is about tourism in the core, but it's about many other regional networks which we should interconnect and interface much more with tourism. And this could be a strategy just in order to keep away over-tourism tendencies that bring in much more the opinions of local populations, which we need. We need all of them for the big travel which we have to make in the next decade when it comes to a clear and competitive strategy, not only for South Tyrol Alto Adige, but I'm convinced also for many other regions within the INSTO family. Thank you very much. Back to Dirk Gesser.